Dietary purity. What is dietary purity? Basically, dietary purity is this sort of mentality of dietary perfection, where you're consciously always thinking about what you're putting into your mouth, trying to be consciously perfect about every single thing that you eat, to the point where it basically consumes all of your time. You're always thinking about how closer you're getting to that state of perfection as far as your health is concerned. So, you may have noticed that a lot of people have that sort of mentality today when they learn about the raw food diet, that they have this mentality of dietary perfection or health perfection. That they actually believe that somehow or someday they will reach this state of health perfection, health purity. And they sort of put themselves up on a pedestal or on a platform much higher than the average person. They look down upon the person consuming an average diet because they feel that they are superior, that they are healthier. And they sort of carry around this dietary purity ego with them wherever they go. And to back up everything they use to defend their position of why they consume their certain diet that they do, they will basically quote their favorite vegan doctors, regardless of looking in at the other side and, really looking at it with an open mind. They're looking at it more with a narrow mind, and they're looking for ways to booster their own position on a certain way of eating. Because anybody can look up on Google and be like, benefits of vegan diet, and there you go. But without looking at the other side of the spectrum, you don't really get a good overall idea of how healthy this certain dietary regimen is you're following. So there is some definitely negative things to this dietary purity, as I call it. One thing is that it consumes the person. The person will tend to become very self-centered. They will be afraid of eating anything under the sun unless it meets their specific requirements. It will tend to alienate them from other people. They will not be as social, and then they will basically they'll start crying, and they'll have their little wimpy stories of how everybody eats so bad, and it's so hard to hang around your friends because they're eating everything they want, and it doesn't seem like anybody cares. You'll hear things like that from them. And then they will start to basically bolster their dietary purity mindset, which will just completely take over their whole life. It will completely take over their whole life, and they'll just consciously be thinking about food, about health, nonstop. And in my opinion, I believe that is actually taking them away from health. It's one thing to eat fruits and vegetables and healthy foods. It's another thing to basically become so paranoid about eating anything that you avoid it, and you think that one little crumb of something is going to cause you to die, or one little bit of cooked food is going to be so toxic to you that it will take off a year of your life. That's when it becomes really serious. And the vegan diet at its very core has that type of dietary purity mentality to it. And it can go for both sides. It could be for paleo, it could be for people that eat meat. They could be just like that too, but I find that it's a lot more common in ones who avoid certain foods. If you avoid certain foods, then you pretty much carry around an ego with you, and you think that you're better than everybody else, and it can kind of take over you as a person. And I think a lot of people that watch this video will understand what I'm talking about. And it can make other people feel uncomfortable. You could lose friends, and like I said, you really alienate yourself from other people and from activity. You're not really living, you're not really enjoying life. It's more of a burden, because you've put restrictions on yourself of what you can and cannot eat. And you know all the knowledge in your head, but at the end of the day, are you really happy? Or do you feel like this is so hard to follow? Because a lot of people, they'll go through it all. They'll eat the 100% perfect diet. And you've heard it all before, that people sometimes they'll still get sick. Something will happen to them. And, all that work that they put in is pretty much worthless. So, I would say that it's best to avoid this mindset of trying to reach a state of perfection, health perfection. Because when you have that mindset, in my opinion, it actually drives you farther away from being healthy.